In today's video, I'm gonna break down a recent campaign I did for Nike. So that was a campaign I collaborated with Nike Tokyo on the release of their new Air Max DN8. Nike reached out to me and they said they wanted to do a dynamic motion style video, something along the lines of stuff that I've already been doing, just revolving around their new sneaker. The sneaker itself was pretty cool. It's a vibrant green silhouette, super easy to like highlight and showcase different aspects of it, different features. And the thing you might be wondering is this video is actually featuring me. So who shot and edited this? For almost every campaign where I'm featured and in front of the lens, I like to collaborate with my good friend Peace. Peace is the one who DP'd and shot all the clips in this video. I work with Nike closely, working on the pre-production, planning out exactly what shots, what scenes, and I had everything in my head so that when it came down to shoot day, we actually ended up shooting this in like, I think 2.5, maybe 3 hours total. And basically we just went down the list of capturing everything in order so that in the edit, it'd be super easy for me to just plug and paste everything and get the edit down to a T. The gear that we used to shoot everything was basically we just used the Sony FX3 on the DJI RS3 gimbal. We ended up only using 3 lenses just to make sure that everything was streamlined. We shot with the 10mm wide Laowa lens, the 35mm G Master f1.4 lens, and the 50mm G Master f1.2 lens. To make everything streamlined, and this is a little trick that I like to do, I like to group all of the shots by lenses and by rig in order so that instead of having to switch out lenses multiple times throughout the shoot, you just basically need to switch out the lenses twice in between the different lenses that you have. So we start out with, I think for this one we start with like the 35mm lens, then we went to the 10mm wide lens, and then ended on the 50mm shots. All right, let's hop into Premiere Pro. Okay, to start off this video, I have this really cool invisibility reveal trick, and I've actually done a full YouTube breakdown on how to do this trick. It's really easy. Basically, all you need to do is have 2 clips. The first clip is I've just walked into a location here and I've just set up the camera on a tripod, had Peace hold a big 3-in-1 or 5-in-1 reflector just to diffuse the light right here a little bit to make the actual exposure of the shoot nice and pleasing. No harsh like shadows, or make sure that all the details are clearly visible because this is like the initial first shot. I wanted to make sure that this is a really clean shot. This is the only shot that we actually used the diffuser, and I've just basically walked into, we set focus somewhere around here, and I just took a couple steps in and walked into frame. Now, I've only basically had this one shot. We also shot a clean plate. So clean plate is just basically not having anything in frame besides the background. If you want a more detailed breakdown, I'll link the actual tutorial in the description below. But basically, you're gonna hop into After Effects or Davinci Resolve, and you're gonna do a thing called chromatic displacement. What you're basically gonna do is rotoscope out your subject, and then you're just gonna put a couple filters in to make it look like it's glass or it has like an active camo effect. And then all I've done is I've actually added a little bit of a camera movement through a transform layer to zoom out to this scene. And we've started obviously with our invisibility clip. And if I just go frame by frame here, all I've done is just added a crop and a little bit of camera shake through a couple presets. And as you can see here, it's just a really fast reveal. So it's top down. I've just keyframed out the invisibility layer to my actual regular layer. I've also keyframed a little bit of light exposure using a Lumetri color extra effect just to give it a bit of a flash. Very subtle, but when you couple together a little bit of camera movement, a crop reveal, and obviously the sound effects, let me just play them real quick for you here. It's pretty cool. If you listen to it again, I've actually added a bunch of sound design, and I'm not gonna go too detailed in the sound design for this video because I feel like this video is gonna get super long, but I've added a couple of sound footsteps here, and then which are these 2 things right here, is the footsteps. 1, 2, and a really like intense metallic riser, basically. These light beams are actually also added in post. This is in After Effects. I forgot what the plugin was, but it's basically it's a plugin through Mocha, and you can do like these RGB light rays. I'll do a video about this in the future if you're interested. Add a comment down below if you want me to break this down further. And then moving along, I do this a lot actually. I'll add an adjustment layer and a transform, and I'll just keyframe, basically transform for 100% to like 250. That's what gives you this zooming effect in between clips. See how this is zooming right here? That with like the whoosh right here. That gives it a little bit more movement. And this is the things you can do on static clips. I do this all the time where I just have this adjustment layer, do a bit of a transform, and I ease it out into, let me just bring this over here. Basically over a few frames, I'm going from 100 to 175. This is an ease out and ease in. You get this cool zooming effect. Moving along, I just have a couple scenes of myself walking, and Peace shot this. The first clip was shot on the 35mm lens. These are also shot on the 35mm lens. And these are just handheld shots of me walking in the street. You can tell they're not perfect. The autofocus is acting up. I actually like that a lot because a lot of times I like shots moving in and out of focus. It's chaotic. This is literally just hand holding the Sony FX3 vertically, and Peace is just walking through the street behind me. I think this standard stabilization is on. And he's just walking with me. Actually, there might not even be any stabilization on. This might be just no stabilization. It's nice to have these shaky clips because then you can just cut in between different things and pick out what you like. So I just have a couple quick cuts here. And then I have this rotation shot. This rotation shot is nothing sensational. I just wanted to show the Nike logo real quick, and the actual shot here, if we just look at it real quickly, I'm just rotating my body a couple times. I think Peace was just hand holding the camera. We had a manual focus set on the Nike logo, and I'm just rotating into frame here. Moving along, I have this shot of starting with the shoes and then speed ramping up right there. And actually, that's quite nice. That's quite a nice speed ramp right there. Just pay close attention. I actually have this same flash here in between these two clips. This again is just a Lumetri color exposure. If you can tell right here, just ever so slightly flashes. That's a super nice subtle effect you can add. And then I have this speed ramp right here, which goes from shoot up to myself. And basically these two clips, I think this might actually be two separate clips if I'm not mistaken. These are the raw clips just to show you like the movement. This is all shot on 60 FPS, and that I like to do that for these sort of like short reels type videos because that gives you the flexibility later to go down to 50% from 100% or speed ramp. Shooting in the 60 FPS just gives me a lot more flexibility than let's say like 30 or 24 because you can't really go to slow-mo if you shoot at those unless you use like optical flow, which is not bad, but it's not ideal all the time. I've got this like random whip from actually a different video. I got a little lazy. Let's add it. We've got this motion blur, and then I've got two clips here. A wide shot on the 50, then Peace just took a couple steps in, and I just timed it. So we've got this side look. I think I did this a couple times where I just looked at the camera, and then I cut it to this clip here. These are two separate clips. Just like that. Again, if you notice, I've got that special zoom right here in between these two clips just to give it a little visual interest. This next clip is pretty cool. Peace was in an elevator going down, and I was walking towards him. I really like this right here, the shadow. I think the shadow is really cool. This is the clip in its entirety. I just cut out right here as it passed this rail. Actually, we were using a variable VND filter, and you can see like this banding. That's because I was using, I think it had like a CPL built in. Next time, should have paid closer attention, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I could basically go and just get rid of the purple in this, and that would do, the majority of the issues would be solved there, but I was a bit lazy. But yeah, I like to get a variety of tight, wide, and like various angles. Try to get as creative as you can. These are the kind of places where you can get these cool angles and just pop them into your edit, and it gives a lot of visual interest rather than just shooting at the same like horizontal eye level line. It's really easy to shoot kind of like ground level up, but sometimes you can get like a vantage point. Elevators are cool. If you can get like on a second floor, a staircase overlooking like an area, those are really cool instances where you can get these cool shots, and it adds a lot of visual interest to your video. This next scene, again, it's just a flash. It's a motion blur. I'm just having my camera here, just like whipping it around randomly. And this next scene, I cheated. I outsourced this to a good friend, gaboot.fx on Instagram. And I knew exactly what I wanted, but I just didn't have the time to do this VFX. I feel like I'm getting pretty good at After Effects where I know how you can do this, but I didn't have the time. Like this project from shoot to finish was like 4 days. And I had all these other things that I needed to do, other projects going on. And sometimes when you have these heavy loads, especially in the VFX area, it's just smarter to go ahead and pay somebody who's a professional to do just specific scenes. So actually for this project, I had 2 specific scenes that I outsourced to my buddy. And for this first one, I knew exactly what I wanted. So I shot it basically, I just had like a stomp on the ground. And when it stomps, there's like a shake on the ground, which isn't like too crazy. There's some nice kind of like chromatic aberration to kind of sell this like sonic boom transition. And I wanted the DN Air logo here, this right here, to come out, rotate, and reveal the next scene. So basically it's just cutting out this logo, and then you can kind of like 3D expand it and rotate it in After Effects using the camera tools here. And the other thing he's done, he's added a little bit of motion blur, and I've actually speed ramped this portion where it comes, and you can actually see the cut here. Boom. It's not super smooth if you watch it in slow motion, but in regular time, boom, you can barely tell. Super cool transition. So it's coming out, revealing the next frame. The next frame is just like a rotation on a gimbal around me, and I've speed ramped this to the next clip. These clips are actually shot on the Sony CyberShot. It's just like a little handheld pocket camera that I've talked about multiple times on this channel. It's such a super handy camera to have, and it records straight to micro SD. So at the end of every shoot, I like to get just a couple clips, and I've just added this in as filler. Again, we've done another zoom and flash. I've moved on to this next scene here. I've just asked Peace to give me a couple like whips back and forth after a couple still shots, and I knew I was going to cut this in sort of like a motion effect. So whip, boom, and that starts the parallax movement. So this next clip is actually, it's kind of hard to tell here, but in the speed ramp, you might be able to tell this like parallax speed ramp where the background, if you can tell like that vertigo effect. If I show you the full clip, it's basically just pulling back on a gimbal from a specific point, and I've tracked the Nike logo, and then I've done a parallax effect where you start zoomed in at 50%, then you zoom in to 100%. You start zoomed in at 100%, then you zoom as you're walking away to do that vertigo effect. Again, I've got a whole nother tutorial on that on my channel if you want to check it out. But then from that vertigo kind of like speed ramp, we get into this series of speed ramps. And if I just play this here, cool. And the way that this works is basically we filmed on the 10mm wide Laowa lens, a series of the exact same movements. And if you just watch this in slow-mo, the camera is rotating this way. So Peace is twisting his wrist this way, clockwise. And as he's rotating the camera clockwise, he's just walking backwards really slowly at a consistent pace. And basically what we've done is try to keep myself centered in each clip. And I've done this, I think, like 5 different locations. Different location, same movement, rotating clockwise, walking backwards, rotating clockwise, walking backwards. And in the final one, instead of rotating, we've just walked backwards. And try to keep myself centered in all of these. If you speed ramp this in addition with adding basically motion blur, there's a motion blur plugin called RSMB. I talk about this thing so much. I wish there was an affiliate program for this. You toss this onto your adjustment layer, and it gives you that nice motion blur in between each speed ramp. And if you couple all these together, it's really smooth. It's like super seamless. Boom, 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 boom. And if I play a little. With the sound effects, it looks pretty cool. This, I've just, as we've come back here, I've reversed it back into myself. And the next scene here, let me just play it out for you here first. This is probably my favorite transition from this video. And with sound effects. This transition probably looks really complicated, but it's actually ridiculously easy. So basically you have two clips. So the first clip is me, Peace is just walking toward, or he's not walking, but he's got the gimbal. He's just pushing in towards me tying my shoe, right?
3, 2, 1. Beautiful. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
That's one clip. The second clip is this crazy like 3D reveal clip. And this is actually pretty simple, believe it or not. This is actually shot using my iPhone, and I've used an app called Polycam. Polycam is like a LiDAR Gaussian splat app that allows you to shoot scenes and create them into like 3D interactive scenes. I've done that, then I've brought that 3D interactive scene into After Effects and basically rotated it or moved the camera around. And I've also added this explosion effect. And this explosion effect where you can see like it's basically the polygons are revealing over a certain space. And if you couple that with like sound effects, you get this. That's a really rough breakdown of that effect. Let me just show you okay, so this is the actual Polycam, and once you shoot it on your phone, this is like what you're gonna get. And I mean, it looks pretty crazy, but this was shot in like 30 seconds. And once you have your actual kind of like render, then you can go ahead and like basically animate it like this. In After Effects, I mean, you can actually just even like screen record this. I do that sometimes when I'm lazy. But in After Effects, there's a plugin called Gaussian Splatting actually by AE Scripts, and it basically allows you to do camera movements in After Effects. If you know Blender, this is super easy, but if you're interested in this breakdown, leave me a comment down below and I'll get to this in a future video. I'll do a super in-depth breakdown tutorial if you're interested. So please leave a comment, it helps the engagement. This next scene is the other scene that Gabut actually did for me. And the next scene is basically it looks very difficult. And I mean, some parts of it are very difficult, but it's basically just 3 scenes here. So he's created these 3D objects in After Effects, and they're basically bubbles because the shoe has like 8 bubbles. And that was like one of the things that they really wanted to showcase was like these 8 distinct, it's called the DNA. 8 distinct air pockets. So I wanted to showcase that with these bubbles. So we had these effects as I pulled away. We had another scene here where Peace pulled back with the gimbal and I was just holding this pose, and we've got these cool electricity effects here. And you can do this if you wanted to. You could basically just keyframe out these locations and put like an overlay. And then you could also perhaps like download some electricity PNGs and just track them with the movement. And then we were pulling back here. This is just, he's basically just rotoscoped out this next scene and then blended it here. And he's just done a couple cool effects here and added this Air Max DN8 emblem on the side here. And again, these are things that I feel pretty confident doing, but it would just take me too much time, and time is money. So like if you are under a tight time frame and you have the budget, outsource it to friends and everybody wins. And it comes out a lot cooler than trying to do everything yourself in a tight time frame. The last few shots here are just myself on the fisheye. I lied. We actually use 4 lenses here, and I remembered. This is just me holding the camera with the fisheye lens. I did this at the very end where I just did a bunch of different movements, and I just shot, you can actually see Peace over there, just shot a bunch of different movements of me using the fisheye lens. I ended up using this first part here, and also here's another scene of Peace just getting some cool angles of me with the fisheye lens. This fisheye lens is from Samyang. It's like $200 or something like that. It's super worth it. Just had a tight detailed shot here. I think this is on the 50 mil that we shot earlier. Just added in at the end. And then we finished off with, on the 50 mil, just me walking out of frame. And I've actually ended up putting the logo at the end here just to close everything off. If you notice like some of the movement, again, these are just adjustment layers with transforms added. As you can see here, we're kind of like zooming out. And then again, we're zooming out at the end there. The majority of the sound design is basically whooshes and just varieties of different whooshes, different tones. I've done a couple videos on sound design, so I'm not gonna go super into detail about every single aspect of this. But one thing I would like to say and like point out is if there's an action or some sort of motivated movement, it's fun to add sound effects. Try not to overdo it. And a couple different things you can do is just like if you want to muffle out a sound, you can add a low pass right here, kind of like blends out the sound a little bit more. And then also you could probably add a high pass too, which kind of does the other part where it doesn't take out the high pitches, it keeps the high pitches and it sounds kind of like airy. Those are 2 different effects that you can add to your sound design. But for the most part, it's just a bunch of whooshes and a little bit of ambient sound. And that's kind of the whole breakdown. So yeah, that's kind of a streamlined breakdown on this recent reel that I did in collaboration with Nike. It's a super fun project and I really appreciate it because I was able to basically take this and go in my own personal creative direction. They gave me some parameters about having to showcase like the bubbles on the actual sole, I guess, the side profile of the shoe, on the cushion part of the shoe. And besides that, they really wanted to emphasize the dynamic movement portions of like utilizing the shoe in everyday use scenarios. So I had a lot of fun thinking about different transitions that I pre-planned, and then Peace helped me shoot. And in the edit, I was able to utilize a lot of movement, a lot of these transitions to create something that I thought came out pretty cool. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully that conveyed itself in the actual final product of the video. If you have any questions on anything in this video, again, a couple of these transitions are a little bit more detailed. So if you'd like to see further breakdowns on perhaps the polygon Gaussian splatting effect, or if there's another effect in there that I kind of breezed over, feel free to leave me a comment down below and let me know, and I'll do a further breakdown on that in detail in a video coming up. Please check out my store. That's a great way to support me in this channel. If you want to find out any of these sound effects that I use in this video, they're available on my shop, as well as the color grading techniques, the PowerGrade, and also the LUTs that I use to color grade this entire video are done on the ones available on my store. Please check those out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.